The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to Sister Speak. You're here with me, Mariam.
And it's me, Fadeen. Assalamu alaikum everyone.
We hope you're all well and keeping warm in this wintry day. So today's show we'll be talking about self-development and the impact of self-development on ourselves, but also how we are pursuing the pursuit of self-development. But before we do that, Fareen, can you tell us what our show is about?
Yes, so our show is a platform for Muslim girls to voice their own opinions on current events and issues, and even form discussions on general topics such as religion, culture, politics, social media, Islamophobia, etc. Please note all opinions, views are our own, and we respect all other or opposing similar views.
Perfect. So just to reiterate, all opinions and views are our own and respect all other opposing views. If you do want to join in the discussion, where can they join us at?
You can WhatsApp us on 07779 481822. You can also call us on 01582 81822. We are live on Facebook at Inspire FM Luton, and you can also message us on Instagram at Sister Speak. Just so you can guys see a bit of behind the scenes, we do have a Twitter account which is called Sister Speak _ and a TikTok account which is the same username, Sister Speak _. So make sure you follow us, and you can send us your thoughts or any messages on there as well.
Amazing. So we would love to hear your thoughts. And before we delve into our main topic, which is self-development, which we see is very important to discuss, we do the segment called Thought of the Week. Essentially, Thought of the Week is a segment where we discuss something insightful, something we're thinking about, or something that we just want to share on live air. So, Fareen, what is your Thought of the Week?
My thought of the week, so today it's the 8th of March, a really important day. It's International Women's Day. So I just want to touch upon that and, you know, all the achievements that we have achieved as women, and how important this day is to kind of show everyone that, you know, when we come together, even when we are independent, when we come together, we are such a powerful, you know, source. So that's my thought of the week.
Amazing. It is International Women's Day, and for those who don't know, International Women's Day is celebrated in many countries around the world. It's a day when most women are recognized for their achievements, whether that's national, ethnic, linguistic, or cultural, economic, or political. So I think it's really amazing that is your thought of the week, and I think I've seen a lot on social media today and how people are celebrating incredible women, especially from ethnic minorities. So that's a really fantastic thought of the week.
Yep. I think with just to show International Women's Day, you know, we have this platform. We had a whole radio show that we can voice, again, our own opinions and views, which is really great. Just touching upon International Women's Day. Today in college, one of my friends, she gave me a bouquet of flowers just because it was International Women's Day. And I just thought, you know, it didn't come to mind that it was International Women's Day, but she just gave it to me. And I was like, why did you give this to me? And she said, you know, you passed. I just did an exam recently, and she said, you know, you passed. So I know you were really stressed. So I gave this to you. And I just felt so happy that, you know, she remembered, because she's not necessarily someone that you talk to every day, but she's still a friend. So, you know, that thing that if you don't talk with someone every day and you think, oh, they're not my close friend. But she was, you know, she remembered, she was thoughtful about it. And I was really happy that she gave it to me. And, you know, it reminded me of that stressful time that I went to revise for that test. So, yeah, thank you, my friend, for giving me this.
That's a lovely anecdote. And I think it's a really important point what you have mentioned, because oftentimes we celebrate International Women's Day and we see people that are doing incredible work, but they're not really close to us in terms of personal relationships. They're people that are doing great work in terms of influencers, in terms of people that are in certain positions. But I think it's really important to celebrate the women in our families and the women that are around us. That's a really good point. Yeah,
I agree. Like our mothers and everything, even though we sometimes don't appreciate them enough, they do so much work behind like the scenes and everything.
Yeah, and as International Women's Day it's about the achievements of women who have overcome so many barriers. And I think our parents are those people, because, you know, they came to this country and they essentially just survived. They had to forgo a lot of their aspirations just so that we could have our education, just so we can have a better life. So definitely a huge shout out to all the mothers out there who have invested their entire lives for us. I think everyone should appreciate them.
Yeah, you are someone that we now look up to.
100%. My thought of the week is about a initiative called Muslims in Public Policy, which will be launching next week. So this initiative, it's a new and emerging organisation. And the reason why I wanted to kind of talk about this in terms of my thought of the week is because I think it's such a important initiative that's going to be launching, especially in terms of people who want to pursue a career in policy. I think a lot of the times when we talk about policy, we feel that we're not represented within that policy framework. And so the fact that this organisation is coming together, where Muslims are going to create this network, where there's going to be outreach activities in helping the Muslim community be introduced to policy, and in terms of creating this network, I just really want to talk about that, because I think a lot of the times when we are in positions, a lot of us don't have that literacy in terms of policy. And so for us, to be able to have this initiative, to be able to consult people who are in these positions already, I think it's a fantastic initiative, and I really look forward to seeing how this moves forward, and I look forward to the success, and I'm also looking forward to the launch as well. So that's kind of my thought of the week.
That's a great thought of the week. I think you are really interested in politics, so this might be so exciting for you. And it's really good because sometimes we think to ourselves that, we can't have any say just because people are going to see us as, we're just going to, because we're Muslims, they're going to see us as this, as that. But it's a really great initiative, especially with policy, which is often not talked about enough.
100%. I think something for me personally, when I was working in higher education, I found it really difficult to present my ideas or present qualitative or quantitative data, and the whole essence of writing policy to be able to encompass the needs of Muslim students. And that made me think, okay, I need to gain the skills of policy. And so having this organization will be really incredible, because it will help people who come from ethnic minorities or widening participation backgrounds to almost have a means of entering this area of work. And also, I think it's really important to think about how the policy, people who are working in civil services and people who are working in local governments, perhaps most of the time it's not representative of the community. And so to help have this organization there to facilitate that, I think it's incredible. So I'm really looking forward to that. And do give the Muslims in Public Policy a follow. It's called MIP on Instagram, and do follow their journey.
Yep, that's a great thought of the week. I like that very much. Thank you, Mariam.
No worries. We are going to now move on to a game that we've been playing for a couple of weeks now. I think we really enjoy doing this. So it's a Frenchly grounded games, and it's a sort of a game that helps you to self-reflect, to have a bit of introspection, and kind of prompt some discussion. So my first question, Fareen, is what part of your present will you miss the most?
What part of my present will I miss the most? I think because I'm in my last year, obviously, of college, I think I'm going to miss seeing my friends every day, because now we're obviously going off to our adult life. Some people are moving out, some people are commuting, but there's still not that daily hi, hello. I think I'm going to miss that the most, because obviously in first year, you are kind of meeting everyone, but then in second year you just have a big whole group and people that you see every day that you're so used to seeing in class. So that's the thing that I'm gonna miss the most. Even though there's exciting days to come, I'm gonna move out, I'm gonna have not a complete different life, but a different kind of lifestyle. I'm still gonna miss seeing all my friends and being in the same class and everything. That's the part of my present I'm gonna miss the most.
Oh, so just for context, Fareen is in her final year of sixth form, and she is applying to university and have applied to university. Yeah. I think for me, I think this question doesn't really address what I'm feeling right now. I think it addresses more of what I was last year. So I had a lot of going on last year in terms of going to different opportunities. I was involved with several organizations in terms of volunteering, and I really, really missed that. I think if I just really kind of whittle it down to one, I think this essence of flexibility, because I am transitioning from higher education to the civil service, inshallah. And so I think just having that ability that autonomy to be able to think of work whenever I need to work, and having that ability to just come radio whenever I need to come radio, I think that's what I will miss the most. But I'm actually looking forward to having these changes, and I think this is the first time ever I feel excited for change. I'm usually a person that kind of veers away from change, and I find it difficult to grapple with. So I think this question, in a way, it's a point towards the direction of my growth, because change is something that I used to feel almost allergic to. So it's really good.
Yeah, I think such a general feeling to always be scared when you're so used to in your comfort zone. But it's really good to kind of get out of that comfort zone and you think the most positive things that are going to come out of that change.
Okay, that's very true. I'm going to ask you another question, which is something that will delve a little bit deeper. And if you do want to join the discussion, you can also call us on 01582 481822, or you can WhatsApp us on 07779 481822. We'd love to hear your discussion. We'd love to hear you share your thoughts. So the next question I want to ask you, what are you overthinking?
What am I overthinking? You know, the thing, I overthink everything. There's no one thing that I'm like, how do you say when you don't overthink? That I'm like still with, that I'm thinking, okay, this is it. I always have something going on. So I think the things that I overthink the most are whenever I meet someone new or whenever I'm in the process of, building that friendship, I always, in the back of my head, I always think they don't like me. And I'm always overthinking that if I say this in the next, meeting that we're going to have, then they're going to, keep being my friends, stuff like that. I think overthinking for me is such a bad thing because sometimes I don't sleep because of this stuff. Or whenever you say something in a group environment and you say something that's really embarrassing, for example, which is my thought of the week. Do you remember when I said?
Yes, of course I did.
Yeah, well, I'm not working on it at all. I still find everything that I do and say embarrassing. So I'm trying to change that. But yeah, so overthinking every embarrassing moment that I've had, overthinking everything that I've said in a group environment. So yeah, overthinking is like my personality trait.
I think I can resonate with that when I was a bit younger. I would say younger, maybe like 1-2 years ago. I think something that we tend to allow to consume us and hold us to ransom, because we are very conscious of what people think of us and how that pans out. But if you think about it, how much do we think about other people? We don't really think about them at all. And so the same kind of mentality can be applied to the other person. They're not really going to be thinking about you. They're thinking about how everyone else is thinking about them. So it's almost a vicious cycle. And I think one thing I kind of want to touch upon is that I think the more you select your company in terms of people who are pursuing certain goals, who are aspiring for great things, and the people that want to uplift you, you sort of kind of move away from that mentality, because all the people around you really support you and they really care about your development. And our show is about self-development. So I think when you go to university, you're able to meet people that are like-minded. I think a lot of the trouble is sometimes not being in a company that doesn't align with you. But of course, you are going through this ladder of experience and education, and that will come with time. And also, I just want to say that you've come from a different country and you've, integrated to such a great extent. And also the fact that you're on a radio show, even though English is like a third or fourth language, it's incredible. So I don't think in any shape or form you should ever feel that you're inferior towards anyone else, because I remember when I started this radio show, which was in 2017, and I was extremely nervous to speak English, or just to speak, essentially. So I just want to say that, we should celebrate the achievements, and I'm very proud of you, Fareen.
Thank you, Mariam. About surrounding yourself with good friends, I just want to say Mariam is such a supportive person. Honestly, whenever I feel like I can't do it, or obviously when I joined radio, I joined 4 months ago, so I need a bit of, help of what I have to do. Mariam was there all the time. So I'm so glad that you're here, Mariam. And I love her reassurance, because for me, it's really needed. I love getting a bit of validation that what I'm doing is okay.
I think everyone needs a bit of validation, but I think as you grow older, you realize that validation comes from yourself, and then you have to work on growing that in yourself. So you have to feel that I'm worthy enough, and I have the ability to do whatever I need to do. And even if you don't feel like you've got the ability, you have the caliber to work on that. So I think that's something that comes with time and experience, and I really do look forward for you to grow, and I have seen your growth as well. So it's a really incredible journey for me as well. And I always feel like, I think I'm a kind of person, I always learn from others. So I feel like you're a very confident person, and I feel like I can grow from that and learn from that. So it's always about learning. It doesn't matter where you are in life. If you can observe people and if you can take lessons from that, I think it's really important. So the next question is, and I think we talked about this in our thought of the week, which I think is quite a good segue as well for this question, is tell me something about your mother that you didn't appreciate until you became older.
I think obviously my mom, she came like me. She came from India. Obviously, she didn't speak any languages. And all that she did was for us. So like we are here now, and what I'm thinking is I'm gonna study and I'm gonna go to uni. I'm gonna work. That wasn't her mindset when she came to Spain. Obviously from India, she was really young, and all her aspirations were, I don't know what I'm gonna do. My dad was there, but obviously you feel a bit alone. My dad was looking for work outside, and my mom used to be at home, and she used to be there with us all the time. And sometimes, you get a bit overwhelmed with obviously my siblings and my mom. So I just didn't appreciate her being there at home with us enough. And I used to, kind of leave her alone, because obviously you also have to think that your mom has her whole life. She has her own thoughts. And sometimes we think that in our life, our moms are part of our life, but for them, we are her whole life. So that's what I didn't appreciate, and of the fact that she cared so much for us. I think I still do, but as I grow, I appreciate her more. But at that time, you don't think about it because you're still a kid.
I think that's such an important point, that we tend to forget that our mothers are their own separate people, and they have their own aspirations and their own thoughts and feelings. And I think one thing that we don't think about is how, if we have mental health issues, or if we feel that overwhelmed, so do our parents. The level of anxiety, the level of overwhelm, the level of feelings that they have in terms of, being responsible for so much when they have so little, it's something that I do think about as well. For example, my father, he was responsible for so much, and I think a lot of our parents can resonate with this as well, that they didn't just have to take care of us, they had to take care of their family back home, and that's a huge responsibility. At the age of 17, my dad was responsible for so many people. I could not even fathom myself doing that. And I do kind of empathize with that, and I think it's really important that we have to take a step back and to appreciate that. Of course, there is a caveat. I'm no way I'm saying that. I know it's easy for me to say this, but some people do have some issues with their parents because there's a lack of understanding, or there's things that shouldn't be taking place in the home. I'm not talking about that. Of course, you should stand up for yourself when possible, but respectfully as well. And your mental health is a priority, but I'm talking about where you can appreciate and where you can empathize. I think it's really important, especially in terms of Ramadan. As Muslims, we need to be able to forgive in our hearts and to kind of clear that animosity that we may have. And it's really difficult. I can understand from a lot of people's perspectives. So I think it's just about being more emotionally intelligent, understanding what's happening around you. And even if you don't want to engage with that, just take a step back. And it's better to disengage than to engage in a abrupt manner, or engage in a way that it's detrimental for your family ties. So that is kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think in most situations, in my situations, my parents sacrificed a lot of things. And with the mental health issues, I just want to touch upon that, because I've honestly never seen my mom, anxious or having an anxiety attack. And I think it's because she doesn't want to show us that she's going through these things, so we don't get pressured, which is something that, it's so... You think about it, and it's like, if I'm having anxiety, then everyone knows. But I don't know how my mom does it, that she doesn't want to make us feel anxious or that there's something going on, something's wrong. So she just puts this mask of, everything's okay. And I just think that the fact that she's doing that is because, she cares for us. And I just really love my mom.
Oh, I think for me as well, like, I can resonate with that as well. I feel like my mom has been so resilient against everything that she has gone through. To the point where I just think, how are you withholding? Like, I feel like I want to fight for her rights because I can't withstand it. And I just think at that level of resilience, if I could have it, I would be so much more successful. So it's something that they have created. I feel like it's a sense of patience as well. They're very, very patient. But I do feel at the same time, just to have a balance, sometimes our parents had no option but to be patient. And so that sometimes led them to go through injustice that shouldn't have happened. And I think a lot of time culturally, people misconstrue patience with injustice, because they just think that if you're patient, then everything will be sorted. But actually, Allah has given us the opportunity to fight for our rights. But at the same time, you have to acknowledge the fact that they didn't have an option. They had to stay within this framework, because they didn't, where else would they go?
Yeah, so that's why today it's International Women's Day, and we should,
I think it's really important for the people that perhaps don't have a voice on International Women's Day, and maybe actually I'll correct myself, people that do have a voice but it's just not being heard. I think those are the women that we need to celebrate. But moving on from that, in the last 2 minutes, I'm going to ask you the final question for this half is, one of Allah's name is the Subtle. Do you remember a moment that shaped your life as you know it? So in a way that Allah, in his magnificent ways, he subtly helped you, and you didn't realize at that moment, but it was just that once nuance that helped you for the person you are today.
That helped me, something that happened in my life.
Yeah.
I will say, I think one of my close family passing away, I think it did give me a lot of kind of patience and that, you know, kind of lesson that life is so short and you have to appreciate all the moments with them. And I feel like with that person, in the last moments, I was there, but I was not there mentally because I was going through some other things. So just kind of being close with your family and kind of enjoy the little moments.
I think so as well. I think in terms of the question, I think last year was a huge learning curve for me. I didn't understand what was going to happen to me. The year before was extremely difficult, but it was Allah's most divine plan that enabled me to achieve so much and to have that growth that I really needed. And I really like this question because it's talking about how Allah is subtle, and sometimes you don't realize that Allah's actually put you in certain places. You might think it's so catastrophic at that one point, and when you're going through it, it's so difficult to overcome. But then later on, you know, Allah promises with hardship, with ease, that ease comes to you. And I feel like this question, that, you know, the attribute of Allah being the most subtle, the most gentle, is something that I personally have benefited so much from. But we are now coming to the end of our first half of the show. We look forward for you to be joining us on the second half, where we'll be discussing self-development. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
It's happening more and more each day. Drugs making my friends crazy. I'm laying it down, don't bring it around, cause I ain't nothing but drug free. It's happening more and more each day. These drugs making my friends crazy. I'm laying it down, don't bring it around, cause I ain't nothing but drug free.
I used to see my buddy for years looking all depressed. I guess that he was in some major tests. After class, we used to go and play some ball. He was fast and tall and he surpassed us all. But after a while I seen him playing less and less. He be looking more depressed and stressed at best. So one day after class, I took him aside. I said, tell me what's going on, man, are you alright? He said, I got some issues with my folks I can't resolve. No need to stress you out, bro, I'll get you involved. So I put it to him, have you started smoking weed? And the answer that he gave me really made me grieve. He said, yeah, once in a while when I need to mellow out. But I'll be alright, I'm not the one to worry about. Yeah, we gotta get you help before you ruin yourself. You got greatness ahead, you ain't like everyone else. He said, I promise I'll be fine, and he gave me his hand. So I trusted him and hoped that he would soon understand. Couple months went by and he'd be worse and worse, like he was thrown in a curse. I hope that he would reverse. And one day he asked me for a couple of bucks. He says I need to pay a friend and right now he's stuck. I said, I know you're smoking crack now, I confirm that for a fact now. I gotta get your help now, don't even try to back down. Gave him the cash, he promised Monday he would meet me. Friday got the call, that would you feed me completely. For years I died of drug overdose. That was the saddest day ever, ain't nothing comes close. Man, I hate those drugs, hate them with all my soul. Chokes the young and the old, till the bodies is cold. So I don't care if you a player or wanna be thug. Don't ever, ever come close to drugs.
It's happening more and more each day. These drugs making my friends crazy. I'm laying it down, don't bring it around, cause I ain't nothing but drug free.
Months later, was still Mourning his death, was angry and sad that he fell in this mess. A teacher who noticed how miserable my soul was came over. He said, I see you carrying a boulder.
I know that I'm older, but let me tell you something that I never ever told you. Put my arms around his shoulder. My daughter, she was the pride of my heart as a father. We were never far apart, was a popular girl, always on top of the world. Never scared to try something new and give it a whirl. But she had low self-esteem, if you know what I mean. And it only takes a moment, yo, to devastate a dream. She started hanging out with this girl from school. Her grades went down and she started breaking rules. And it festered and festered, we didn't want to face it. Till one day, she came home totally wasted. Then a friend told us she was close to being arrested. We put our foot down, then we forced to get her tested. She tested positive for drugs, but there was something else. The doctor asked to do more tests to check up on her health. And then came the news that will totally defeat me. Her use of all the needles, she had gotten HIV. I was livid. That moment and that feeling, I would always live with it. Man, it's still vivid. She died 5 years ago, nothing I could help. My Lord has helped me with this pain that I felt. With tears in my eyes, yo, I gave him a hug. May God give you strength to keep away from drugs. Keep away from drugs. Keep away from drugs.
Happening more and more each day. These drugs making my friends crazy. I'm laying it down to bring it around, 'cause I ain't nothing but drug free. It's happening more and more each day. These drugs making.
You're listening to an Inspire FM podcast, making available our popular programs from our daily broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome back to Sisters Speak. You're joined with me, Mariam and Fareen. In the first half of the show, we talked about our thoughts of the week, which pertained International Women's Day, and we talked about Muslims in Public Policy, which is an initiative that will be launching soon. Then we followed on to talk about our questions from Freshly Grounded and had a bit of a self-reflection session. We are now going to be moving on to our main topic, which is now self-development, and we think this is a really important topic because we feel that having the ability to introspect, to think about how we're going to grow, is something that we should constantly thinking about, and especially moving into Ramadan, we should be really thinking about how can self-development pan into every area of our lives. So the first question I want to ask is, what does self-development mean to you, Fareen?
I think self-development is, for me, all about growing. Not growing, obviously, you obviously grow physically, but growing, mentally, kind of learning and getting new experiences. I think that's, for me, self-development. Also thinking, as we said in the first part, also not thinking about what everyone would say, and just thinking about, self-development, about your kind of achievements and successes. And I think with this, I really like to keep your achievements kind of not tell everyone about it, because obviously evil eye is very real, and keeping your achievements to yourself is also kind of a self-development, and you can't feel successful without telling everyone about it.
Very interesting. Nuria, who is also joined with us on her first live show, so congratulations and a very warm welcome to you. Nuria, what is your answer for that question?
Hey, Islam everyone, hope you're okay. Can you hear me properly?
Absolutely.
Okay, lovely. My opinion on self-development is a few things. I think the first thing is, one, being introspective. So looking within yourself, seeing your positives and your negatives. I also think self-development is your own journey. It means going on your own journey, growing, appreciating yourself as well, and celebrating the little things.
Absolutely. I think that's something that we often don't do. We don't celebrate our little wins because we're expected to just celebrate these big milestones. And I think one of the things that I do have grievances with, and I'm also part of the problem as well, is LinkedIn, because you never see people's struggles. You don't see how people struggle to get a certain achievement or a certain milestone. You just see the surface level of them achieving that one milestone. So I think I completely resonate with that. In terms of, for me, I think self-development is about growing, and I think both of you have encompassed the question, have encompassed the ideas that I had, and I personally feel that self-development it's not exclusive to one area of your life. I think it's something that pans out to all areas of your life, whether that's spiritually, mentally, physically, and just growing in every area. So that's kind of the definition I go by. And so the next question I have is, do you think that your self-development is informed by the definition of success that society perpetuates? And I'm going to ask Nuria that question first.
This is very interesting. That is a really good question, because I feel like, for me, naturally, there's a part of me that is kind of in the rat race. Like, you want to do what everyone else is doing. You want to stay in the loop. You want to have the same successes as other people. To a certain extent, I do feel that. I do feel like I want to be part of these mainstream, common milestones. But then I do have to come back and remember that, no, this is my own journey. It's personal. And not to compare. And I think, like everyone says, comparison is definitely the thief of joy, because once you start comparing, then you stop being grateful.
What's your thoughts on that, Noreen? So sorry, Noreen, did you have anything else to add? I also want to say for you,
no, that's okay.
Noreen, Nuria, your sound is not very clear, so if you could just adjust that. I think there's some sort of technical difficulty on your side. But meanwhile,
okay,
while you fix that, Shireen, what's your thoughts on this?
I couldn't hear properly, but I think she did mention something about comparing yourself, and I think that comparing yourself is such a bad. It's good to compare yourself, I think, sometimes in some occasions when you want to kind of grow from that, but not when someone that's at that extent that it affects your kind of your self-development and your mental health. And at this age, there's so many kind of milestones that obviously society puts on us. So at this certain age, you have to have this. At this certain age, you have to do that. For example, now, a very good example is at this age, next year you have to go uni, which is not necessary if you don't want to go uni, you want to do an apprenticeship. But it's just things that, society puts on us, and just milestones that if we can't achieve, then it's not realistic for us, then we don't have to do it. We don't have to be pressured to do that milestone if we don't want to.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like we tend to compare ourselves in a way that makes us feel inferior. But I also feel, I think two things can coexist. I think comparing yourself to someone that you aspire to is a very good way to kind of grow and develop. And I was actually speaking to someone yesterday about this and how I really do aspire to certain people that I've met over time. And I just feel that the qualities that they have is the qualities that I'm aspiring to and striving for. And I don't see it in a way to negate what I've achieved. I just see it as a way that, okay, this person has achieved so much and has achieved the qualities that I've always strived for. I can also do that too, and I can have something to look forward to and to kind of aspire to. And I think sometimes we tend to focus too much on invalidating what we feel and how we are in our journey, because everyone's journey is different and everyone's circumstance is different. So I think it's having a healthy approach to this. I don't think we can eliminate comparison completely out, because I don't think it's
always going to be there.
It's going to be something that's present, but I think thinking about it in a positive way, that you can aspire to someone and see that this is what they achieved, but also taking account of your personal circumstances. Okay, so the next question I have, Nuria, if you are able to answer this, in what ways do you measure your self-development?
So for me, it's different. Like, it depends what my goal is, what I'm working towards. I feel like I try to quantify it. So I try to put a number on things. So for example, if I want to read a big number of books, I'll try break down the goal and say to myself, okay, let's try read one book a month. So then I have a set number, and I feel like when I have a set number, it's easier to work towards. It's visual, you can see the number. It's not like a whole list of goals and things that you're trying to work towards, because I feel like when you have a whole list and there's just so much information in front of you, sometimes it can get really jumbled up in your head, and then it's harder to process. It's harder to try go through that journey of trying to achieve what you want, because you're so overwhelmed with information.
And then can you give us an example of how you have done a certain thing? So I know you talked about books, but is there something else in your life that you've set a goal to and something that you achieved, and how did you measure that specific thing?
I think moving on to like bigger goals, bigger milestones at the start of the year, I'll write down a few big things in each area of my life, whether that's fitness or career. So I try and at least achieve those two things and spread that out throughout the year.
Okay, Farine,
What about you?
Farine, what's your thoughts on this?
I think so. With self-development, I don't really measure it. I feel like I don't have a milestone. So, for example, I'm just going to give an example of radio. I didn't think this time last year I was going to be on radio and I was going to be a presenter, but no, I am. So that's kind of my self-development, but I don't really measure it. So I do know that I'm doing it, but it's kind of weird because a month ago, you would think, it's just I'm growing, but I'm not even realizing that I am. Is that kind of thing. So I don't really measure the things and the milestones that I have for myself that I did think that they were, in the back of my head. I am trying to, how do you say, put a tick on them in my bucket list. And there's other things that from joining things, from volunteering, they just opportunities just come up and you don't even realize. And that's also self-development. That's also a little achievements that I don't even realize that I'm doing. And now that we're talking about this, I actually I'm doing so many things and I did grow as a person. I think I've become more mature, but I never really stopped and think that, I'm growing. I'm not going to be like a woman now. I am, but an adult woman, I mean.
Oh, bless. So I think that's something that I do as well. I feel like I do a bit of both. So I think I'm quite fluid in the way that I have my goals. I don't have a set trajectory that I follow. For example, last year I really focused on growth and healing, but I didn't envision, okay, this is exactly what I want to do. I want to put a number in it. It's just that was my overarching goal, and the way I'm going to do it, it's going to be fluid. But at the same time, when it comes to compounding effects, so for example, if I want to better myself in reading and better myself in learning, then yes, I perhaps will put a number to it, or I will give myself a certain amount of time to complete a certain task. So that's kind of how I measure myself. But I also think that I don't get too fixated on the end goal. Yeah, I don't get too fixated. I think I'm quite present in terms of the journey, and I think that's something that I've learned over the last 2 years, because once you have a goal, then you just think, okay, I've achieved that goal, what's next? But if you have that sense of fluidity, if you have that sense of feeling that I'm going to be present in this journey, you realize you surpass that goal without even realizing, and you just continue to grow. And in terms of your goal, you tend to kind of branch out. So I think for me, that was kind of my huge learning curve last year. It's just to be a bit more fluid, and yes, to have an overarching aim for me works. And I think something that's another point as well, to understand that everyone works differently, and the people work differently according to the circumstances they are living at that time. Because perhaps a couple of years ago I was in a different circumstances and compared to now, and so therefore the way I would view and perceive things would be very different, and the way I tackle things. And do you have any thoughts on that, Farine?
Yeah, I was just about to say this. What you just said, that everyone works differently, and like I said, every single day we have different lifestyles, and we individually we learn so many things every single day, and from that comes our growth in the future. From that comes our self-development and our own thoughts on what we're learning every day.
Yeah, definitely. Nuria, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think being present is really important, but to be very honest with you, it's something that I struggle with. I really struggle with it sometimes, and I find myself trying to be present, but then my mind is focusing on so many different things at the same time. Like, it's just so many thoughts running through your head. Have you got any tips for me and the listeners on how to be more present?
Farine, I think, has some tips.
I think I don't really have any tips. I think just enjoy the moment, but also have those lifetime goals, like long-term goals in the back of your head. But I really think that what you're doing now, it's just going to take you there. That's like kind of my thought.
That's so profound. That is so profound. I think a lot of us struggle with being present. I think that's something that's taken a long time for me to be present in the moment. And I kind of divide my time. So for example, if I feel it's too overwhelming to think about this big goal, then I divide my time through the week. So I have 7 days in the week. What am I going to achieve this week? And if that's too much, I think about the day, and I make it very achievable, and I make it very tangible. I wanted to ask you, Nuria, that you say that you struggle with being present in the moment, and it's because you have a lot of conflicting thoughts in your head. Do you feel that social media has a role to play in this?
I think generally, like, as a society, it does, because again, linking back to the comparison, but I think for me personally, it's just that I'm trying to juggle so many things at once, and I think social media it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It is very beneficial, it does help, but I think it depends how you use it and what you're using it for. Like, for example, if you're following a lot of positive, influential people, you will feel that impact on yourself. But if, let's say, your For You page or the people that you're following don't have a good impact on you, you're going to feel that mentally as well.
Absolutely. I think I resonate with that, because I feel like social media does really drain the energy out of me. But a lot of the growth that I've had is because I saw opportunities on social media. And so that enabled me to meet new people, meet people that are doing incredible work. But had I not had social media, I wouldn't have known about these organizations. So I think it's about being selective of what you consume.
Yeah, I think it's a really kind of conflictive thing, because it was such a good tool. But I think I said it in a show before, in social media does kind of set unrealistic standards for us, especially obviously us, for teenage girls. We see stuff on social media, and even though we're not working towards it, but in the back of our head, we're like, we want to be like this, we want to do that, and it does have a big impact on our mental health. And there was a really long period of time where when I was, I think, in year 7 or something, I really go to so many self-esteem problems, and my confidence was really down, and all of it was due to social media. But at that time, you don't know, because social media is such a daily thing now. You just wake up and you're on your phone, and it's such a normal thing to do. But at that time, I thought, I don't know what's going on with me, and all it was the scrolling and seeing everyone, seeing the lifestyle, and me being like, what am I doing with my life? I'm not doing anything. And I didn't validate any of my little achievements either.
I'm sorry to hear that you went through that, and I think a lot of us can empathize with you in terms of understanding how social media can negatively affect us. And I think that was more magnified during lockdown, because everyone was at home, and the only way that you felt connected to your community was social media. Nuria, what are your thoughts on that?
I do think that social media can also bring a community together. Like, for example, if you have a platform for, let's say, a specific demographic, if you open up that platform for people to share their experiences, whatever those experiences might be, it creates a sense of belonging. And sometimes when you read other people's stories or life stories, it makes you realize that you're not alone, and that so many people have shared experiences. And I think hearing and knowing about other people's shared experiences makes you feel part of something bigger. Like, you feel collectively, you feel stronger. Like, for example, during Ramadan, when everyone's posting their iftar meals or what they're having for sehri, it's so nice, because you feel like you're going through that struggle together.
That's really nice, and a nice anecdote. I'm going to kind of move on onto a question that I think, Nuria, is something that you can talk, because you work in this sector. Going back to the main topic of personal growth, do you think the education system cultivates the idea of personal growth? Because you just mentioned about how sense of belonging is really important. Do you think the education system enables you to see that growth, or to be able to learn how to cultivate it?
I think it does, and it doesn't at the same time. Focusing on the does, I feel like if you have staff that are empowered themselves, they will empower children. So, the saying, like, empowered people empower other people. If you have people like that, like, for example, let's say your head of year, your assistant head of year, or staff that will focus on your development and will support you, then it can be a really liberating process.
And Fareen, from the recipient ends of things, how do you feel about teachers that are in your education institution? Do you think they support your growth or personal growth, or do you feel like you can aspire to them, and how do they look at that?
I think I kind of agree with Nuria. You really have to, because teachers, you don't realize it, but there's such a big impact of you, especially when you are in high school. They're to your 5 or 4 years, whatever country you were in, and they see you grow, but they do help in that growth. And I'm just gonna mention, I always mention about my primary school, and because it was so good about this, it never focused. Obviously, it did focus a little majority of the time on exams and getting good grades and having a good education, but it really had a really big focus on growing and kind of being a good society. And they had this what you call a slogan, which was make the world bigger or something like that. And every kind of week we used to have this little issues that we don't see. So we used to have International Women's Day. Actually, we celebrated so many other things, racism, Islamophobia, and it's really good to see. I think it was the only school in my area that was doing it, and it kind of did help me understand that not only do we have to grow academically, which is also really nice, but we have to grow mentally, and we have to kind of have knowledge of all the issues that are going on. And there's so many people out there that are going through so much, and we have to focus on that as well.
In what ways did the teachers do that? Because I'm really intrigued by this.
Okay, so I'm just going to give you one example. So there was this I think it was it was about racism. So that was the day. There was a week, I think it was BLM, I think Black History Month. So they just the whole week was about them. So it was showing us the hardships that Black people went through, and all about the anti kind of blackness that there was at that time, and the racist attacks and everything that was going on in Spain. And it was really nice to see, because they don't teach you that in textbooks. They don't teach you, obviously they do sometimes in history, but the actual impact that it had and how everyone was living there, that kind of things, I think was really important for us to see, especially at that age, because then we grow and then we kind of have a whole understanding. We don't have to wait until we're older and be like, oh, there was an issue. We know from before.
Amazing. I think that's such a good initiative from your school. Nuria, because you work in this area, do you think that's something that's implemented now in primary schools or in school settings? Because I don't have any recollection of my school doing that. So is that something that happens now?
Yeah, definitely. I think that now there's been a big push of celebrating diversity, celebrating other people. We still have a long way to go, but like I know the school that I work at, we do International Women's Day, we did Culture Day. That was so nice. The kids came in their own cultural dress. We had a lot of Eastern European children coming in their cultural dresses, a lot of South Asians, and with that they brought in their own food, raising money for charity. So things like this that collectively make you feel part of something and give you the opportunity to celebrate who you are is really nice. I think it's really important for schools to do that and acknowledge that there are minority children, there are minority groups, and no one wants to feel marginalised, and it's important to include everyone.
And we know that from data that when students don't feel a sense of belonging, it impacts their attainment, and that's all the way till university, because that's all my background as well in terms of social mobility.
I just want to say something really quickly about the sense of belonging. There was also this really great initiative in my school that whenever they picked the oldest in the class, so it was the last year, so it was like year 11 in the UK but in Spain, and they chose 5 people that whenever someone new was coming in, it doesn't matter what age, whenever someone new was coming in, sometimes they didn't speak the language, sometimes they were really nervous, from completely from another country. They would come from, I don't know, Pakistan or something. So they were like 5 people that would help them go around the school and be with them in the breaks, because sometimes you come to a new school, you come to a new place, and you're kind of alone. And I think that the fact that they acknowledged that this kind of things happen, it was really great. And as you said, Nuria, diversity is so important in my school, and I think that's one of the things that, you don't have to, it was just really great. It was so diverse, and this initiatives where it really made me grow as a person as well.
How did you feel impacted by that? Did you go to a new school, and how was the interactions like with that person?
It was great, because you get to learn so much. I used to, obviously I'm a really extrovert person, especially when the person is shy, then I tend to talk a lot. So sometimes they will be like, we want to listen about them as well. And I used to ask so many questions about where do you come from? What are you doing here? And everyone is it's so nice to know that everyone has different backgrounds. Everyone comes from different places. And because I used to do it with my friends and them, then we ended up having a whole group, and then they just feel so included, and it's so good. It's so good for me as well. I'm getting so many. Obviously, I'm learning, and I'm also feeling so good about myself that, I make this person feel happy. I made this person feel included, and it's kind of those little achievements that, again, you don't think about, but they are there. So it was a really great initiative, and I think every school should do this when someone new comes in, to not kind of let them look for their place in the class, because coming from another place is kind of hard to do.
Definitely. Is that something that happens in UK schools, Nuria? If she's there.
I think that, I'm still here. Sorry, there was just a bit of a lag. I think that there's a buddy system. I know in our school when there's a new person joining, they get buddied up with someone that's trustworthy, that knows the school, that's involved. And I think when you come into a new school, it's so important to have someone that you can stick around with, because it could be really intimidating and scary going into a completely new environment, especially if you've moved countries. Like, the culture is different, the social norms are different, so having someone that can guide you through that process makes it that little bit easier. And it's nice when you see students supporting their own, like when they're supporting their own friends and their own peers together.
Yeah, you have such a big impact on their growth as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask as well, because from Nuria's side at the end of things, do you see the impact on that on the person that's creating it's being a buddy? And we only have a couple of seconds, so if you can just summarize very quickly.
Yeah, I think it's good when kids have responsibility, because they feel empowered. It makes them feel really confident, really strong in their abilities.
Absolutely. I think this is we are coming to the end of the show, and I think this was a really important discussion in terms of thinking about self-development, touching upon education and the impact of education, and also thinking about how we can grow in different areas of life, and specifically thinking about how comparison is the thief of joy, because I feel that's something that we tend to do, and especially in Ramadan, I feel like a lot of us tend to compare ourselves with others, especially in terms of their spiritual journeys. So thank you for everyone for listening. We will be back next week with another show, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. That is the end. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.